Hi, everybody, and welcome to Prinsights Global. I am so excited about this next guest who needs absolutely no introduction, but Robert Kiyosaki, the author of the iconic, the actual Bible of personal finance, huge bestseller, read all over the world by tens of millions of people, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Robert, I know you're traveling. I know you're busy. Thank you so much for making some time today.
Hey, Nomi, you and I have a love affair going because I gotta tell everybody I was up in Alaska chasing the wild, the Kodiak bears, reading your book. I'm going, holy mackerel. You know so much, and your books offers so much insight into what's going on in the world today. By the way, my patch is because I was laughing with Nomi. What caused the patch is called, I call it vitamin V, vodka. I had a little bit too much to drink plus old age, and I fell and hit my eye, and it cracked my eye. So it's okay, but that's what the patch is for. But it's kind of fitting because I think I'm a pirate now. Anyway,
And as I've said, you do look like a pirate in a
and
good way, and
yeah,
be careful because the world needs you to keep thinking and keep leading, and keep really lighting that path to financial freedom. So I wanted to dig right into we're in a situation now in the world, in finance, in the economy, where things are messy. There's a tremendous amount of debt, $35 trillion more in the United States. The dollar is weakening, purchasing power is declining, people are afraid for their jobs. And it's a really tenuous time. So how do you make sense of it? And what advice or what other beads of knowledge can you offer our viewers?
well, I give advice to what I do personally. I'm watching your sites. I'm watching YouTube. Jim Records is a friend of mine. Came up with his latest book called Money GPT. It's about how AI is going to affect the banking system. And the reason it's called Money GPT is not released yet. Jim gave me a pre-release copy. And what he said on his note to me is, "You thought we had things to worry about. This AI makes it worse." So it's called Money GPT by Jim Records. I get the book when it comes out because our job, you, me, you, no me, you, and me, our job is to take people into the future.
Looking at our debt, right? People are oppressed by not just that, but the amount of money that the US has borrowed. And Robert, I was taking a look, for example, other countries float us, right? So Japan, China, they have been huge buyers of US debt. What is China doing now? It's reduced its amount of our debt from 1.3 trillion back in 2014 to peak in 2018 to about 750 billion now. And they're buying gold instead. So what does that say? It basically says that the largest other superpower, growing superpower in the world, is saying the way that this economy is run is not something we would want to participate in. And we're not to the extent that
Amen.
we how do you've traveled a lot. What is your perspective on other countries, what you see relative to our debt, how the budget's been run, the dollar and that?
Well, ironically, next week I fly to Japan. And, Japan's been in depression, as you know, since 1990. I don't know how they stay afloat. Do you know what I mean? And right now they're, anyway, America, the reason when you talked about the debt is that if China won't buy our debt, they have to raise taxes.
Sure.
Because as you know, right now, the payment on our debt is $1 trillion a year. We're printing $1 trillion every 100 days. Now, guess how long? If I had a dollar and I was going to spend $1 trillion, and I spent a dollar every second, once $1 per second, how long would it take me to spend $1 trillion? Is 32,666 years. And when it's sobering, $1 trillion every 100 days. Tell me, what you've been saying is true. We're bankrupt. We're finished. So that's why I've been a gold guy. That's my cash flow board game there. But I floated my first gold mine on New York Stock Exchange last year in Utah. So the rich are going to get richer if you buy real assets.
Yes.
So for me right now, it's gold, silver, Bitcoin. So I don't have that many Bitcoin. I have about 70 Bitcoin because I got started late. but the dollar is going down. So what can a person do?
Yeah, and just to continue on, like you and I both have talked and agree that real assets are real, right? Fiat
Yeah.
money isn't. Debt is exhausting to a nation and to people that have to deal with how their nation's managing its funds. You mentioned gold, you mentioned silver, you mentioned Bitcoin. Right now, gold is at all-time highs. The Fed's just begun its latest accommodative streak. Silver is not yet at its highs, but it's definitely rising and actually outperforming gold. And Bitcoin, of course, is just off its highs, but continuing to rise. So if you're coming into this environment as a new investor or someone who needs to really educate themselves, and you're so big on education throughout your entire life, what do you say to someone who's like, well, it's all very high right now. Am I too late? What should I do?
Well, it's actually going to crash, as you know. It's going to come down. That's why I wrote the Rich Dad's Prophecy, because what Ricker's book, please everybody get Jim Ricker's book, Money GPT, because everybody thinks AI is a savior. AI is going to sink the system. Rickard said this powerful, powerful book. I got the pre-copy. He goes, there's two kinds of crashes: market crashes, banking crashes. He says, like, we all can see a market crash. So everybody's watching the stock market. We cannot see a banking crash. So in his book, Money GPT, Jim Rickards, Silicon Valley Bank was the biggest bailout in world history. They bailed out not only the crypto industry, they bailed out the rich and all this, but then Credit Suisse went down, as you know.
That's right.
Our banking system's collapsing.
Mhm.
And say, oh, you're such an asshole for saying that. I'm going, look at what's happening. Just look at history. Or as my friend Jim Rogers says, history proves people, but we don't learn from history. So what can a person do? Invest in what's real. One more lesson in money. When you print money, the rich get richer, poor middle class get poor. Because when you print money also, gold goes up with sort of chicken and eggs.
Mhm.
So no man, I'm in shock. I go to the supermarket and I say, how in the world do people afford this stuff? I have lunch, it's $50 now. Do you know what I mean? We're killing people. So what I say to people is buy what's real.
Mhm.
I own gold, I own oil, I own silver, I own Bitcoin, and anything that's real. But I don't, like Buffett dumped Apple stock. What is he saying?
Mhm.
What do you think he's saying when he dumped Apple stock, Nomi? Because you better than I do on that side of it.
Well, no, it's like what you were just saying a few moments ago. The markets and the banking system, the financial, the technology system are intertwined, and they're really sitting on a mountain of debt and speculation that's really cushioned by that debt, right? Real assets require real time. It takes time to mine gold. It takes time to mine silver. It takes time to produce oil. It takes time to mine Bitcoin. And so those elements are real. It takes a nanosecond for the Fed to turn on a bunch of money, right? And so I think um, this is where the biggest thing that this part of this conversation that you're also enlightening people about is going. What is real, and what isn't is in crisis. And so that's where we need to be aware of how the world is changing. I want to get your comment. I'm going on a little bit. I didn't mean to because you're here.
No,
Also, I
I
love
like listening
talking
to you.
to
I
you,
love
Roger.
listening to you.
But also, I have not read Chat Money GPT, but I did speak with Jim about it a number of months ago. I interviewed him, and I'll interview him again when the book does come out because there are some real concerns
Well,
about what's happening in that world. It's another topic, but also not all of that is real. So we go back to real assets. How can people both protect and grow and detach from this system? And so, some final words on all of that from you would be awesome.
well, it's what can you do is study, and being a Fed watcher yourself. When people say, "What's the Fed doing? What's the Fed doing?" I said, "Well, good, they cut rates finally." But the most important thing is, what are you doing? As your book points out, is that the Fed is not our friend. Do you know what I mean? And so people, what is Powell doing? What's Yellen doing? Well, she was a Fed chairman, and now she's Secretary of Treasury. But you better know who a person is by what they do, not what they say. Buy what's real. Invest in what's real as fast as you can. And that's what I say. So I have gold, silver, Bitcoin. I own the gold mines. I don't buy shares. I sell shares. I'm a selling shareholder, not a buying shareholder. That's a capitalist. And Warren Buffett is a capitalist. So watch what he does, not what the Fed does.
That is excellent. What you're doing, what you just said Buffett is doing, watch what people do instead of just taking what people say, and do your homework.
Yeah.
And buy Rich Dad Poor Dad, buy the cash flow game, go to your website, do everything that you need to do to educate yourselves. And Robert, you have educated millions and millions of people for so long. Stay safe. Don't knock your other eye into other stuff. Safe travels, and
Thank,
really thank you so much for your time here today. And everybody, thank you for tuning in to Prinsights Global.
thank you all.
Thank you.